Hello, my name is Priya Nayavu. I will be presenting analysis focused on business analytics and intelligence, specifically analysis of major electricity provider in the UK using various metrics and analytics techniques. This slide describes the main financial operating data that has been examined during 10 years from 2014 to 2023 in five of the largest energy companies in the UK, such as Drax Group, SSE, E.ON, Centrica, and Scottish Power. This figure has been mostly sourced by using the FAME. The selected metrics serves both financial management and managerial analysis. The liquidity ratio assesses the short-term financial health. The gearing indicates the financial leverage and the debt dependency. The number of employees indicate the managerial strategy of the allocation of the resources. The turnover captures the revenue generating capacity. Net profit shows the profitability performance over time. The internal role of the manager decision shows the particular impact on liquidity, gearing, and the employment statistics, which are much important in the measure of strategic control. The turnover and the profit, all the outcome oriented, can be used to reflect the efficiency of the operations, even the response of the market. Here, in this slide, number three most important indicators are liquidity ratio, gearing, and the amount of employees to the five chosen electricity companies in the UK. The liquidity ratio is the instrument reflecting short-term solvency of the every company. The liquidity ratio E.ON UK is highly liquid share at about 4.65, which implies the firm has the ability to pay the short-term debt. Conversely, the Scottish Power Limited has the lowest liquidity of 0.61 with the Drax Group PLC at 0.90, which implies the possible use of working capital constraint. With respect to the gearing, which indicate the monetary risk in terms of construction of debt to equity, Scottish Power and Central PLC instead exceptionally high gearing percentage to the tune of almost 198% and 167% respectively. This ratio indicates the high dependence on the debt, thus more vulnerable to the interest adjustment and monetary instability. On a positive note, E.ON UK has a very low gearing ratio of 17.7%, which implies that a considerably stable financing policy. Finally, the employees. The Century has more than 21,000 employees and E.ON has less than 1,000 and indicates a significant difference in the size of the workforce and even the business structure. Here in this, the turnover trend differed dramatically among the firms between the period of 2014 to 2023. The business there was nothing guaranteed in terms of profitability. The highest turnover was registered by the Centrica PLC, which increased 2014 and turnover of 29.4 million to 2023 year turnover of 26.4 million. But the swings were experienced in terms of profit in the late 2015 year to followed by the upward adjustment to 2023 year to profit. In the previous year, the turnover of SSE PLC was high with a 31.6 million in 2015, but it has stayed reduced, especially after 2019. Although it was lost in 2023, it achieved the maximum profitability in 2022 with the 3.4 million. The turnover of Drax Group rose by 300% in the 5 years, 2014 of 2.81 million to 2023 8.13 million, which a profit swing to loss in 2020, but still was up to this 0.79 million in 2023. The turnover of Scottish Power was comparatively constant and remained profitable throughout reaching its upper in 2023. On the other hand, they experienced the lowest turnover of the part of profit was reduction in 2023. In the general, the broad increase in the turnover after 2020 was complemented by the widely deviating the profitability, which reflects the difference in the strategic and operational position of the firms. In this slide, we discuss the historical trend of five companies in the revenue growth and the profitability between the 2 years, 2014 and 2023. First, the SSE experienced a considerable increase in the revenue after 2019 that has stayed at around 300 million mark since then. The source of revenue for the company bumped up from 17 million in 2019 to over 300 million in 2020 and 2021. The profitability was relatively small, with a slight decrease after that, which is either the indicator of increased expense or the capital expenditure. The DAX group does not exceed the strong revenue growth trend. The company going down, dropping to around 18 million in 2014 to the 2023 forecast of 28 million, with the profit both low and volatile indication of operational and market ratios. The Centrica exhibits the most stable revenue, though the profit were inconsistent. Otherwise, it reported unfavorable profit of 2022, but recovered back to 51 million in 2023. Yeah, UK has a downward trend in its revenue, with its expected in 2020 revenue being of 15 million down to 5 million, with a very fluctuating figures in a profit already between the positive and negative numbers of along the period. Lastly, Scottish Power enjoyed a high level of revenue, steadying around 19 million in 2022, but poor profitability indicating thin margin and inefficiency. On the whole, the information indicates that the high revenue level does not imply the high profit level, and that's why it's essential to control the cost efficiency and proper capital allotment. The correlation matrix gives an idea about the interrelationship between the main financial indicator, liquidity ratio, gearing the number of employees turnover, and the net profit. The liquidity ratio and the net profit record moderately strong positive correlation of 0.60, which indicates that the more profit companies having a higher liquidity. On the other hand, liquidity ratio deficit are a steady strong negative correlation of 0.93 with the number of employees, which implies that the size of the workforce grows, liquidity is likely to decline possibly because of the growth in the operating cost and slide the short-term asset. There is a rather negative relationship between the net profit and gearing. This implies the companies are heavily geared usually record reduced profitability, perhaps because of the interest and obligation. Also, moderate positive correlation of 0.6 is between the number of employees and the turnover. Fact that the more companies employ, the more revenue is likely. But the turnover has a very weak negative impact on the net profit correlation of 0.15 indicate the revenue is not necessarily good proxy and enhanced profitability. This may indicate enough in the operations. Here, in the recognition analysis, examine the connection between the net profit and four estimated variables that are turnover, number of employees, gearing, and liquidity ratio. And the multiple R of the model is 0.8. Our strong overall correlation between the observed and predicted value. The R square value is 0.6 and implies that model could be used to explain about 67% of variation in the net profit. The value of significance F is annual when the table is 0.70, that's greater than conventional value of 0.05. This implication the model is not strictly true at the core. We cannot which much convention state that set of independent variable combined would predict the net profit. Considering individual composition, the p-value of all the predicts are greatly above 0.05. Hence, the lack of statistical significance, the turnover of p-value of 0.25 records highest positive coefficient. This indicates that the might have positive correlation with the profit is, however, is not significant. The coefficient of number of employees is negative and not significant as well. The earlier correlation results liquidity ratio and the gearing are not very influential. They do not improve to be significant in the framework of this model. Here in this regression model shows that they have the moderate fit the R square value 0.67, meaning that the 67% is not change in net profit due to the turnover of number of employees, gearing the liquidity, and the model holds statistically not significant. The F is 0.17 and p-value of all the variables are large. This reshapes the confidence that we would have on its predictive power. The strength highlights key financial drivers, good model fit, and the weaknesses insignificant predators, lack external variables. Here the recommendation. There is important the strategic importance of the following four recommendations based on the correlation matrix and the trend analysis. To begin with, necessary to reduce the gearing that firmly negative correlation with the net profit. Other ways to reduce the leverage to lower financial risk caused by each company considering debt financing. Secondly, optimizing the workforce size necessary. There's a negative high correlation of number of employees to profitability, probably due to the overstaffing or inefficiency. This some of the effective solution to realign the workforce or automation, process redesign, or reskilling. Third, improving the liquidity shows the positive benefit, and increase the liquidity ratio is associated with corresponding increase the better profitability. And the last, the revenue division. The correlation turnover and the profit is weak as the company have a go beyond the value. The move the direction of high margins as renewable energy or smart infrastructure have the potential to make long-term profitability grow and immense the market risk. Conclusion. In the summary, the analysis of the point. One very important consideration, high revenue does not imply the company is high on the profitability. In the five companies, there are different sets of strategies performance here. There were general tendencies as well. The companies had a higher liquidity ratio and lower gearing ratio, registered high profit. On the other hand, large number of employees excess dependency and debt were usually associated with a lower profit, which indicated the necessity in a more flexible organization operation. The turnover of pattern were imbalanced and not always matched with the net profit, which promoted once again significant control in the internal efficiency and the financial status. There is a long-term investment including renewable and digital infrastructure hand in hand with the robust short-term financial control by the company in the energy sector. This project demonstrates a decent role in data-driven decision making in the corporate finance that make assist companies to make operational decisions that are in line with the financial result. Even more the details could be added in the research. These are the reference. Thank you.